Welcome to Hot Takes, brought to you by 50cupstea.com, where united we sip, discuss, and learn. Join us as we dive into the hottest takes on culture, business trends, and the threads that bind us. Get ready for inspiring stories, candid conversations, and a fresh perspective on living a healthy, fulfilled life. Grab your cup and tune in. Let's get started.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of 50 Cups Hot Takes, another part of our wisdom series. And I'm out here in Barrington, Illinois.
Barrington, right.
Speaking to a good friend of mine, Jim Colantino. Thank you for joining me today.
Well, I appreciate being here.
I think you're one of the few people that actually watches and listens to our podcast, so I had to get you on.
I appreciate it. I learned a lot.
So I poured us a little cold detox tea today, courtesy of 50 Cups. If you ever in need of tea, it's 50cupstea.com. And so enjoy our tea, and we'll have some nice conversation today.
Cheers. Sounds good, Jimmy.
So what's on your mind today?
Today's another great day. It's cool outside. Fall is here in the Midwest. Had a great workout and a cold plunge with you this morning.
It was great.
Which was fine. And, you know, with the grandkids activities, great football over the weekend, baseball, everything going on. It's just going to be a great weekend.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your family.
Family-wise, I've got 3 children, and they're grown. They all have children. My oldest, Jamie, has got 3 girls. They're 14, and the twins are 11. So it's a great household. Jamie works for E&Y, and her husband's been a police officer in the community next door at Lake Zurich for the last 16 years. And he's on special forces within the police department. So he just got called out a little bit ago. He's got to go into Chicago because of different things that are going on.
Yeah.
So
now your grandkids' names are for Jamie's kids?
Pardon me?
Jamie's kids?
Yes. Mallory, Reagan, and Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool names.
Yeah. So it's it is a joy to go to their sporting events and watch them, and soccer and softball and flag football is huge now. It's amazing how talented and athletic the girls are. And so next fall, it's going to be a full-time sport in high school.
Yeah, they have that in North Carolina now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So my middle daughter, Lindsay, has 3 children as well. Okay, Lindsay worked for the Hyatt Corporation when she graduated from college. And then when children came along, she said, okay, that's it. I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom, which was great. She's able to do that. Her husband, Brian, who they met at the University of Iowa. In fact, Jamie and Mark met at Iowa as well. Very interesting.
Yeah, wow.
So, yeah. So Brian works in the financial segment, and his organization is national. He's a managing director out of Chicago, and really dealing with services, consulting, software for pensions. We think pensions as a dying breed nowadays with other, things available, but there's still a lot of pensions out there.
Yeah, it's kind of what my son-in-law sells.
Mm-hmm.
Personalized pension plans for,
right.
What I would call sole proprietors.
Yeah. They have 3 children. Tessa is 11. So with the twins being 11, there's 3 of them. They live 10 minutes apart, and it's great. She's involved in all the sports as well, which is fun. Colin is 9 years old, and Nikki is 5. And they're all playing all the sports. Really
Nice.
Interesting tidbit about Colin.
He's the only boy so far that you've mentioned, right?
Well, Nikki.
Oh, Nikki's a boy too.
Nikki's
okay.
a boy
All
too.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. A lot of girls. There's 8 total. But Colin was born, And my wife and I had no idea what the name was going to be. So we go in, like an hour after, and I said, "What's the name?" Right? And she said, "Colin." I says, "Okay, what's the middle name?" She said, "Tino." And I said, "What?" I said, "That's real funny." Because, last name
Right.
Colantino.
Right.
And she said, "No." She goes, "Look on the wall." And so I look up on the wall, and there it is written, Colantino
Creative.
Thomas.
Yeah.
So it was touching to see that.
Yeah.
So knowing what my daughter's maiden name meant to her. So that was fun.
Pretty cool.
So our son, James Anthony, which he really didn't know his name was James because everybody called him Anthony all his life. They live in Dallas. Tina, his wife, worked for Deloitte. She's a full-time stay-at-home mom now. And Anthony has been working with a large global insurance broker. And so he's the president of the Dallas office right now and a producer. They have 2 children, okay, that are 3 and 1.5 years old. So it's a little different dynamic down there at 3 and 1.5. So
you got James, and you have your youngest?
Natalie Joe.
Okay.
Natalie Joe. Yeah,
excellent.
3 years old.
That's fantastic. Sounds like you had a beautiful family. Obviously, you're married to Mary Jo.
Mary Jo.
And for how many years?
46. It's a
Very
long
impressive.
time.
It is. It is. So what's the secret?
Keep your mouth shut.
But you had a pretty interesting career. And so why don't we just start from the beginning? Where did you grow up? What was your family like? And then we'll go from there.
Okay. Grew up in Ohio, Ashtabula, Ohio. You ever hear of that name?
Is that near Youngstown?
It is 60 miles north of Youngstown, right on Lake Erie.
Okay.
Ashtabula is the largest town in Ashtabula County. Ashtabula County is the largest county in Ohio.
By land or population?
By land,
okay.
not by population. Population of Ashtabula in the city is about 17,000, and that's where I grew up. The immigrants that settled there initially were basically from Sweden, Finland, and Italy. So you'll see a lot of Italians, a lot of Finnish, a lot of Swedes in the town. And they basically came there because there were a lot of labor type jobs, and they didn't have to learn English right away. Okay, and so it was heavily populated back then. So blue collar town, small, right on the water of Lake Erie. So we lived probably a half mile from the lake. And like a lot of Midwestern blue collar type towns, we lived in a little Cape Cod when I was smaller, right? Sidewalks, we would walk to school. The Catholic church and school was 1 block from the house. So we were able to walk there, go to church, go to school. You had the corner markets, if you want to go down there and buy shopping and buy something, corner bars. And, you just don't see that much nowadays. The name Ashtabula is actually Indian. And it means river of fishes, because the Ashtabula River goes right through the town and empties into Lake Erie. So,
what did your parents do?
Pardon me?
What did your parents do?
Before children, Mom worked for General Electric, and Dad was 40 years. The company was called Electro Manufacturing, which was acquired by Union Carbide. And then and he was in a number of different positions, ended up as a quality control engineer for several years before retiring.
And so obviously that area was back then big into manufacturing.
Big into manufacturing. A lot of boats came in with different minerals and alloys and rubber to support the steel industry, to support the tire industry. Because steel was really big in Youngstown, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and all of those cities are very close. And Akron is only, 70, 80 miles away. It's the rubber capital of the world back then. And so, the boats would come in and bring a lot of goods through Ashtabula and, other cities up the coast.
And then how big was your high school?
High school, really big, Jim. We had 500 in the school. Can you believe that?
125 each class?
I had 103 in my
103.
graduating class. Yeah. And it was really, and the school's still there. Now they go 1 through 12 as far as grades. It's still a private school. We had five elementary schools that dumped into the Catholic high school, because we had 3 of them actually in Ashtabula, and then the town of Geneva and Conneaut came in as well.
Okay.
into the high school, but it was small.
And I'm assuming, were you first generation go to college from your family?
Yes.
And when you're in high school, is that the plan for you to go to college, or are you thinking you're going to go into manufacturing, you're going to do something else?
My plan was to go to college.
Is that your parents' plan?
Sorta. Yeah. My brother was 2 years older than me, and went to the University of Akron. And he wanted to be an engineer, so he studied engineering. And then my plan was to go away because I wanted to explore different things, get out of Ashtabula. I didn't want to work in a plant or anything like that. I had no idea about running my own business. I didn't know, what I would do or anything like that. So I ended up at Youngstown State University. And the only reason I went there is because that's where my parents let me go. It was, at first, this is an interesting story when I look back at it. They said, we want you to go to the Kent State campus here in Ashtabula for a year because we don't think you can make it through college.
What gave them that idea?
You're a dummy. That's what I heard.
I guess you didn't kill it in high school?
I guess, right? In high school, we had a very solid education being a private school, okay? And part of it was by fear, because we had the nuns, we had priests teaching us, and then the coaching staff. And so we did okay. But I mean, I took like academic courses. So it was the algebra 2, trigonometry, chemistry, Latin. I had a B average without like killing myself. But I was a dummy, according to mom and dad, because my brother was very sharp.
Back then, you didn't have to go into a safe space and cry for a while. You just moved on. You accepted to being a dummy and you moved on.
You don't talk back. You don't say anything. You don't challenge anybody. And it's just like, I had to think about it to see if I really was a dummy. Right? So it took a while.
So they wanted you to stay local, the Kent State branch, but then you decided, how'd you convince them to go to Youngstown State?
Well, here's what they told me. They said, go to Kent State branch for a year. Do okay there. Do well there. You can go anywhere you want in the country. We'll pay for it. I thought it was a great offer.
Yeah.
I said, no. I says, I'm going to go. Now, Youngstown State was an hour away, right? And I went there kind of like on a visit junior year in high school because a very good friend's brother was there, part of the fraternity. We went to the fraternity party, sold, right? And, this was a long time ago, right? Over 50 years, if you're good at math.
Right.
And, It was time to leave the nest and
Yeah.
go try something different.
All right. So then you're in school, and did you have to declare a major? Were you liberal arts? What did you end up doing there?
Well, as far as the schooling was concerned, we were just taking general classes at the beginning, the basics. And in my first semester, and I think about this all the time, I don't know why. I lived in a house half mile from campus. 3 other guys were from my high school, my graduating class that I knew. One was from a different high school I knew. And so we, 5 of us lived in a house. And in that semester, I kid you not, I gained 20 pounds. I had long hair. Think about this.
Wow.
Lamb chop sideburns that were thick, flannel shirt, jeans with bell bottoms. And here's what I tell people. I was a waste to society. I did nothing. And I look back at that. And, you gain the weight, you look like that. And I got a 2.0 average. I had nothing to do, and I wasn't applying myself in school. That was the C average, right? You just slide by.
So you're kind of living up to the dummy moniker.
I was a dummy. Exactly. Exactly.
And I'm sure the girls weren't jumping over those chops and the weight and the flannel shirts either.
They were flying all over the place.
Running away, right?
Yes. Yeah. But that changed second semester. And I gotta say it was because of the involvement in the initiative I took to check out a fraternity. Sometimes fraternities get a bad rap, because you usually hear about the hazing, the drinking, the bad things that happen. And that, believe me, that stuff happened, right? I saw it. But there's also a lot of good that can come out of it. And, like anything else, what you put into it is what you can get out of it. So I really gravitated toward that. And it helped me. It helped me a lot.
Because of the discipline in the fraternity, forced study halls, things like that? Or is it just more of a competition now where you're with a group of guys and you want to be as good, if not better than them?
Absolutely. All the above. I mean, we wanted to make sure that we maintained our grades, right? We wanted to be involved, so you would take on responsibility. You were accountable for your actions, okay? And so, I started out like, okay, I'm going to be president of my pledge class. Baby steps, right? And then, you want to get to know the brothers, right? And it wasn't like the bigger schools where you had hundreds of brothers in the house. We had 40, right? And that was a good size for Youngstown State. Enrollment there was about 17,000 or so.
Okay.
And they had their fair share of commuter, the people that lived at home and maybe would come in and for classes and things like that.
So I assume then you graduated with a higher than a 2.0. And did you have a job your senior year to go to when you graduated?
Well, I was working, believe it or not, at Firestone Tire and Rubber Company in the last year and a half of college. So I was making good money, going to school full-time, president of the fraternity, and participating in all the intramural sports. And so, I look back and say, you do nothing when I was the dummy and get a 2.0, right? And then you're doing all these things. And back, I think that semester was like a 3.5, working and, everything else I was doing.
Yeah.
So it changed.
So you proved your parents wrong then.
Yeah, for a time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it also goes to show you, and I'm a firm believer of this, you can do more and more and more and do better and better and better. And that was living proof of it right there.
Other than the fraternity, was there just a defining moment where you, quote unquote, before said you were a waste, you didn't do anything? Is there something else that triggered you to, move, to do more, to be better?
Well, I don't know if this had anything to do with that or not, but in high school, junior year, right? Um, I was a pretty good athlete on the playground and in the backyard in unorganized sports. Baseball, I was good, but I didn't apply myself in football. And that was a sport, right?
Mhm.
Back then,
Yeah,
you gotta
especially in
be
Ohio.
gotta be a member of the football team, and I was kind of like going through the motions, and I don't know why. And right before the junior year, the coaches who were young, you know, I give them credit; they didn't know any better. I mean, they're young coaches, at a small school, and they said you're going to be the starting defensive end junior year. Okay. All right, that's great. I'm pumped. I'm excited. And so we get into summer practice, and they're calling out people to come on the line where you're going to play, right? And they yell, "Colantino," right? And I started running. They go, "No, not you, Dino," right? My cousin, right? And it just, you just like sink down a little bit. I go, "What happened?" Right? And so, I went back, with my tail between my legs, and that hurt. But I hadn't proved anything, right? It's
Right.
just something they had I don't know what changed. Nobody communicated anything to me. And so, time went on, and, I'm second string. And like second week of the season, something happened at practice that I was like tackling everybody, right? And, it kept going on and on. And I hear the coaches screaming again, "Colantino, you're starting this week." Okay. 2 plays later, I separated my shoulder. And what the coaches called me, I can't repeat right now. And so when you put all that together, you just kind of go in a shell. At least I did.
Hmm.
Um, and it's just like, it could have prompted me to say, I got to get out of here.
Right.
I got to get into a different environment. But I was telling myself, that's not going to happen again. And when I got to college, except for the dummy quarter, right? I was ready to compete and grow and learn and contribute.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something to be said from getting out of an environment that you grew up in because you're labeled.
Yeah.
Your parents look at you a certain way, your cousin looks at you a certain way, your classmates look at you a certain way, and then you believe it.
Yeah.
And then when you leave and you go someplace else, nobody knows who you are, and it's a totally fresh start.
It's exactly what happened.
I think
I
this,
was, and in the Junior Rose Gym, I was playing against like former all-state players in bigger schools and stuff like that. And it was fine, right? But it was different back home.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm talking about stuff like this. It's almost like, here, come sit on the couch.
Well, they always say I told my kids, you never want to peak in high school. The good news is you didn't peak in
No,
high school.
no,
So,
no.
but I do think, in this day and age, it seems like there's a lot of young adults that are either going to school close to home, so they're still living at home, or they're coming home all the time, or when they graduate, they come back and live at home. And it's not for economic reasons. I think it's for comfort. But at the same time, I don't think it's allowing them to go and grow and find out who they really are. And the fact that you did that, obviously propelled you then to go off and, have a great career and work and everything else.
Yeah.
So kind of walk us through your career.
Yeah. Well, the experience I had in college and with fraternity really gave me the confidence and responsibility, accountability to go after other things. So after I graduated, I went and interviewed for the Xerox Corporation, which sells copiers, right? and it's a high quality type copier. And our main competition was IBM. And, I got the job and I absolutely loved it. Okay. I didn't know any better, right? It was a professional sales, quality products. Their training was probably the best of any corporation. I mean, we went off for 2 weeks, Leesburg, Virginia, 24/7. You are studying your products, your competition, you're doing demonstrations, you're learning scripts, and it was really hard work. We came back, into the field and worked with some sales reps, and we're back to training again for another week before we were eligible for a territory. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that was I got my territory, and I heard all kinds of comments about my territory, about how bad it was. That's just what you want to hear when you're a young salesperson, right? And you're coming into a territory. I mean, we had sales meetings on Monday morning and Wednesday night, right? And at those sales meetings, the senior people there, the senior reps will look over. It's not a good territory, Jim.
It's a tough sale too, because you're calling on businesses that are doing what they normally do, is try to generate revenue and profit for their businesses. And suddenly they got to talk to you, and you got to try to convince them to buy probably at the time $1,000, $2,000 machine, which is a lot of money, for these companies. And
Could be. Well, when I first started, we only rented.
well, that's even worse.
Yeah, we only rented, but it included service, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, like my third year there, we started selling. But here was my mindset. I went to the training. I learned everything. I was all in, right? And they had a formula about, here's what you need to do daily, weekly, and here's the metrics we're looking for. If you could do this, you have a chance of being successful. So my goal was to double it. I don't care what anybody said. I said, I'm just going to double these with the proposals and the demos and the calls and the code calls. Just leave me alone. Let me go. And that's what I did. Yeah. So when I heard it was a terrible territory, I'm thinking, what does that mean?
And where was the territory?
It had some accounts in the Youngstown area.
Okay, so you're in Ohio still.
But then it branched off. Yeah.
Okay.
It branched off into some smaller communities going south. Lisbon and East Liverpool and all small towns south of Youngstown. Okay. But you know what? There was manufacturing down there. There's medical down there, hospitals, schools. There were all kinds of things down there.
And doing the math, you're in your 20s, and since you've been married for almost 50 years, have you met Mary Jo at this point in time?
I met Mary Jo after my Xerox days.
I jumped ahead.
Right, yeah, right.
So tell us about that.
Meeting her?
Yeah, like how'd you meet her? And
well, like
she's from Ohio as well, correct?
She was, yeah. She's from Ohio, and I met her. She was actually had like 2 semesters left in college when I met her, and I met her at the upstairs lounge.
You still have the long hair and the chops?
No.
Okay.
No. This was these were in the professional days. Okay. But we were at the upstairs lounge because going back to Xerox, after our Wednesday night sales meeting at 5 o'clock, we go to upstairs lounge, half mile away, and we'd have drinks and play liar's poker. You know what that is?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
It's a whole sales thing. Every time I was in a corporate setting with, on a sales team, that's all we ever did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'd lie about our sales. Tell tall tales about our sales. And she was there with friends, and I met her, and it all went uphill from there.
Yeah. Good stuff.
It's an interesting story that, our last name is Colantino. Her mom's maiden name was Colantone, which was Colantino when they came over, and they changed their name to Colantone.
And so from
Ellis Island, they changed the name.
Yeah, but where did they come from? Did you both families originate in Italy in the same town? And they just
the same area.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Because we were Colantino, believe it or not, before they changed it to Colantino. Yeah, same thing. I go, this is weird. Yeah.
And I always wondered too, is that so the Ellis Island people did that just to make things easier? Or did the families actually change to become more American, I guess?
Both. From what I hear, they did both. Mary Jo had uncles that changed their name to Colantone, and they spelled it differently because they did whatever the agents at Ellis Island said. It's okay, it's fine. They just wanted to get in.
Yeah.
They would do anything.
Yeah, Colleen's grandparents, I think, their parents were Kazmaka, I think, and then they switched to Mackie. So she, growing up, thought she was Irish, and in reality, she was Polish. But Mackie was a lot easier to spell.
Yeah.
And they wanted to assimilate. That was the bottom line. So Xerox.
Yeah, Xerox was good. I was there 4 years.
And then you decided to jump?
I actually was doing well at Xerox. And kind of a side note there, all the sales reps there drove the same type of car. It wasn't a company car. But when I got there, most of the guys were driving Corvettes. And, and I never could think saying, like, I can't go call on somebody with a nice car and then want to charge them all this money for a product. We do that today, right?
Right.
Who would know that or think about that back then? But a lot of and I had a Corvette, believe it or not, when I joined Xerox because I had been working, doing okay. And so I had one. And so, we're doing that. And then it switched to Cadillacs, right? And so I bought Cadillac after that a couple of years later. Now, we're not talking about a lot of money. Maybe back then, you're talking $7,500 for a brand new car. Much different than what it is today.
Yeah.
So I'm driving home in my new car to see mom and dad, right? And I get home and dad comes out of the front door. He looks at me. Once again, I can't say what he said, right? And he just went back in the house.
Because he didn't like the Cadillac?
Well, he's not that type of guy.
Okay.
Right? He's not a country club guy.
Right.
He's just, conservative. And I'm also thinking in the back of his mind saying, you bought this car, you're showing off, you're not making any money, and you're in debt up to your ears. And most of that wasn't true, but he didn't know.
Yeah.
We never talked about things like that.
Yeah. Did you ever acknowledge that you weren't dumb anymore?
No.
No.
No. No. But you learn from that.
So eventually, how do you get out of Ohio?
Well, 4 years into Xerox, and I met a guy who used to work at Xerox, right, in the Pittsburgh office, and he used to come and use our office all the time because he knew everybody. And he worked for a legal publisher. He had a big 4-door Lincoln Continental. He had cuffs on his pants. And I go, I don't know, right? And then I started talking to him, and he was talking about everything that he did. And I found out how much money he was making. And I said, this is interesting, right? And he was selling law books to lawyers. Now, they didn't have anything online back then. No CD-ROM. Wasn't invented yet, right? So it's all books. And so we talk more and more, and all of a sudden, I'm interviewing, for a sales position in Columbus, Ohio. And we got together. They made me an offer, Mary Jo and I moved to, Columbus, Ohio. And here we are now selling law books. And again, it was a great job. Really was a great job. You think about it, you're out for the most part cold calling, knocking on doors, getting in front of the lawyer and selling them a product to help them in their practice. These are all the books that you see on the LA Law TV show.
Yeah, and you still go to the attorney's office today and you see all the books.
All the books, yeah.
They never use them anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're there. I get it.
Yeah.
And I would think that'd be a pretty tough sale also because they already have books.
Well,
for the most part, now you're asking them to buy new books, which I'm sure are more updated and with more cases in them and everything else.
Exactly. In the company that I went with, most of what they did was what we called secondary source. So they helped you. It wasn't so much the case law and statutes and regulations, but it was all support. How to, why, questions, forms.
Okay.
So it's really supportive. Now, you can practice law without that, but it's a lot harder.
Yeah. How long did you do that?
I did that for 12 years.
All right.
Between sales and sales leadership. And, when I left Xerox and took that job, it was no salary, no car, no expense reimbursement, and you got a draw of $1,200 a month. And they paid your benefits. That's it.
Wow. So you had to sell pretty quick.
Yeah. They had great training. And again, I immersed myself in that training and wanted to compete with people, in the region, in the area, in the country. Okay. And it was pretty cut and dry where you could make your sales and you knew exactly how much money you were making. It was that simple.
And then when you're in a leadership position there, are you on a salary or are you just taking the override on your team's performances?
In a leadership position, most of the time, you had a territory that you still managed for sales, and then you would manage a team of people. Could be anywhere from 8 to 12 people. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of work, a lot of time.
But how are you getting compensated? Is that salary now, or are you making bonus on the performance? Or you
make bonus? You make bonus on the performance, and then you make your money on your own personal sales. They give you a little bit of salary, but it's nothing to write home about.
Then just being a leader, when you first started out, compared to where you probably got better at it, what are some of the lessons that you learned along the way?
Well, you learn a lot by making mistakes, right? I reached out quite a bit to different people that I trusted and had confidence in, and we would talk, whether it was in person or on the phone, just about, issues that would come up or how do you handle certain things. And that was extremely helpful. And I found out that I enjoyed learning about the sales reps' families. Okay. And, because if you got problems at home or with children or whatever, it comes to the office, right? Mm-hmm. And it's good to know about that so you can support people and help them. Loved motivating people. I like that. I've always liked to motivate people and take them to another level. And maybe it's because of a lack of motivation that I may have had way back when. I don't know.
Could be.
Yeah.
Here's a hot take on some 50 Cups tea.
Our de-stress tea is great for relaxation as it contains ingredients like chamomile, valerian root, honeybush, and dried orange. Chamomile assists in anxiety as well as the ability to help you fall asleep. Valerian root helps slow down nerve activity, which promotes for anti-anxiety. Honeybush helps calm the central nervous system, and the dried orange replenishes vitamin C reserves as well as reducing cortisol levels.
Visit 50cupstea.com to find out more.
I also think, too, you brought up an interesting point where you had mentors.
Mm-hmm.
You seek them out. You ask for advice.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like everybody I talk to that's been successful has always had mentors. But a lot of people that I talk to also that I haven't put on the podcast don't think they need mentors or are afraid they're going to be bothering them, and therefore they won't do anything about that. So if you had to offer some piece of advice to some young person that might be listening to this down the road, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I'd say to seek out a mentor and get the right person, the right fit for you. Listen to what they have to say, challenge what they have to say, understand what they have to say, and stay in touch with them. Having a mentor isn't like you're going to talk to somebody once, but it's an ongoing dialogue where you have a relationship with them. And I will say that in my next job that was 25 years long, I had a mentor there that was invaluable to me. He was the president of one of the organizations. I reported to him. He taught me. He challenged me. He was a friend. He was difficult, demanding, and that's a big sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's also love, where, most mentors, I think, most people that are asked want to help because they remember when they were younger that they probably had a mentor too. So I do think that there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of great wisdom and advice.
Yeah.
But the really good ones are the ones that are going to challenge you. They're not just going to be, oh, well, that sounds good or whatever you want, Jim. It's going to be a challenge. It's almost like having a good coach that's going to make you a better athlete, right?
Yeah, this was challenging to the point where you get nervous, right? He said, you got to have your A game going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, and you look back at it, it was wonderful. Yeah. And I think I was able to help him as well because he was just like a workaholic, right? Going 200 million miles an hour. And he saw my family. He was over for dinners where the family was there, the kids, everything. And that's something I think that was missing on his end, and really, really appreciated that.
Speaking of that too, as you're, growing your career, obviously, you travel with business and you work a lot of hours. How did you maintain that work-life balance? How were you there for your kids?
Yeah, that was hard. And that's where I got to give a lot of credit to Mary Jo, because she taught at elementary school for a couple of years when we got married, and then when Jamie was born, she stopped. She was able to do that and be a homemaker, and she did everything at home, at school, in the neighborhood. I mean, she was my wingman. I mean, she was, and she still is, great. Yeah. It wasn't like I was absent, but when you're traveling, you can only do what you can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. And sometimes even when you're home, you're eating dinner, but you're thinking about the presentation the next day or having to get up at 4:00 in the morning to catch the plane to leave to go someplace.
Yeah. And
so you're physically there, but mentally you might not be there. And having a good wife always brings you back, to reality.
Yeah. And in the legal publishing business, we work from home. So we didn't go to an office, which was different a long time ago.
Yeah, that
right?
was.
People really didn't work from home. And so it was easy to go to the office when you're home at night or whatever.
Right.
Disappear.
But in your next job, there was an office.
In North Carolina, there was an
Yeah.
office. Yes.
So I'm still trying to figure out how many years before you finally get sprung out of Ohio. Because
Well,
you go to Illinois and then you end up coming south, correct?
well, what ended up happening is we were in Columbus, and I got promoted to a director's role in Chicago, suburbs of Chicago. And so we moved to Chicago. That was in 1984. And, we were there until 2001 when we moved to North Carolina. And that's where my mentor, right, took on the presidency of an acquisition. And then he asked me to come down and head up global sales.
Was that a hard decision to make? Because you had, I think, 2 kids that were in high school / college at that point in time. Anthony was younger.
Yeah, Anthony was 3rd grade at the time. He's a little younger than his sisters. My oldest, Jamie, was in college. And then my middle daughter, Lindsay, had a year and a half of high school left. And it was a very difficult decision. Because every one of these moves, it's also difficult to marry Jo.
Mm-hmm.
She's in the community. She's got the friendships. She's plugged in. Everything is going great. But we saw the opportunity, and she knew my mentor well, loved him, still does. And she said, let's do it. Now, with that backing, I said, okay, we're in. And so I commuted for a year and a half. That's why I know the flight is an hour and 42 minutes, right? Every week.
Are you American and United guy or one or the other?
No, it's just American.
Okay.
United's big in Chicago, but American was the hub in RDU and Raleigh, Durham.
At the time, yeah.
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 Yeah. So, yeah, that's what happened.
So then once Lindsay graduated, that's when Mary Jo and Anthony relocated
Exactly.
with you down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then obviously Thompson, right? Stay with Thompson, and then you eventually retire, and then you're one of the very few people that leave the South to go back north again. And
well, yeah, Thompson was a good run. It was 25 years there. I actually spent a third of it in legal publishing, which I had done before, right? And then a third of it in the scientific, and then a third of that span in financial, which was tax and accounting. And it's all professional sales we've changed now. There's no more print. Right. But it's all online software services, things of that nature. Yeah. Yeah. But what ended up happening is I have grandkids coming now. Right. And we said we have an opportunity where we can come back to the cold weather and leave Raleigh, Durham. And, for the family, it's well worth it.
Yeah. So how long have you been back?
We've been back 11 years.
And if you look back on your career, tell us the worst thing that happened to you and what you did to overcome it, and what was the best thing that happened to you?
You put me on the spot. The worst thing that happened to me. Probably getting let go. Okay. Have you ever been let go?
Well, technically no, but yes. I mean, when I sold my company, I stayed on with the new company, and naively I thought they're going to love me, and eventually I'll get the top job, and that's not how it works. And probably my attorney, I remember him telling me this specifically. He said, I'm going to give you about 4 or 5 months and you're going to leave. No way. This company's great. It's going to be fantastic. And I was gone in 3 months. Yeah. So I got the call from the board chair. And he said, Jim, there's too many cooks in the kitchen, and I'm going with the other cook, and his name is Jim. And a lot of Jims. And so, I went home, and my wife, Colleen, said, what happened? I said, I got fired. She goes, you didn't fired. And by the way, nobody's crying for you. So buck up. And that was it. So what about you?
Well, we sold the business that I was with. And in that sale, it was written in the contract that I had to go to the new company because I was the glue keeping the sales organization together. And there were salespeople globally, okay? And I knew what was coming, right? And so, I go over to the new company, get them going, get everything situated. And, within 6-9 months, it's been nice knowing you, right? And you can prepare for that, but when it happens, it doesn't feel good because it's not on your terms,
Right.
right?
Yep.
And, and so that was tough. That was tough. But, you get a good severance package, right? And, within 60 days, I was back at Thompson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you eventually left on your own terms.
Actually, I didn't.
Okay. Got bounced again?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, they came after me again. I actually got my job eliminated because, as we sold this company, I came back. We sold that company, but the CEO said, "We need this position, and you'd be great at it, and we'll compensate you this." Boom, 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 boom. So it was a quasi sales operations. So I would oversee compensation plans, take care of the President's Club trip, and do everything to try to integrate all these different entities together. So there was fairness and it worked out, keep people happy, and kind of be the liaison to the XCOM for sales. And so, I did that until they said, well, no, we don't need that position anymore. And again, it's like I'm 2 years from retirement, and I got this notification. It's the best thing that ever happened. But in the moment, you don't think that way.
Yeah.
Right?
I think also looking back on my situation and yours too, you weren't in a producer role.
No.
Right. So therefore, once you probably did too good of a job. So everything was probably integrated and people were communicating and all the stuff that you were tasked to do got done, and then
we had a lot
anymore.
We had a lot of success. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of relationships, for what they were paying me, it was like, yeah, you could get this done. Maybe not at the same, but I don't think they needed that anymore because it was already together, per your point.
Right.
And, but at the end of the day, another severance package, which rolls you into retirement. And it was, again, it worked out fine.
Yeah.
Didn't know it at the time because you just, you're competitive. You say, you can't do that to me, right? It's okay.
Well, when you go through it though, is there a month, 2 months into it where you're like, now you're fine with it? Like, is there a certain amount of time that has to pass before you can accept what happened and be happy about it and move on?
In the last time, I called my mentor, right? And, after like 5 minutes, I'm going, nothing wrong here. And there wasn't.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're just all by yourself. You can go talk to your wife where they don't understand the dynamics, and that's not a negative type thing, but it talking to somebody who's been with the company and been through stuff like this before really helps.
Yeah.
That
was the best thing that happened.
I'm sorry?
What was the best thing that happened?
There were plenty of good things, Jim, but what I enjoyed the most, and sometimes it caught me by surprise, is when I would hear from former or current employees about what I meant to them, how I helped them, You can't put a dollar figure on that, right? But it was rewarding. This is what I tried to do. Okay, tried to help them become more successful in a path to do that. Talk about activities, how to do that, and then how I was able to motivate them, either one-on-one or in public in a large setting. And one of them was, at a funeral of all places. One of my peers had passed unexpectedly, and the sales rep came up to me. He was a lawyer, had done extremely well in other businesses after he had left legal publishing. He says, Jim, I hope you don't mind, but let me tell you how you helped me. And he went on, and I'm like, and it was special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're a father, you're a grandfather, you're a husband, you're retired. Besides family, what keeps you busy these days?
Grandkids.
Well, I said besides family.
Yeah. Okay. I started volunteering at an organization in town called Neurobalance. They needed a volunteer driver. There's actually 9 of us, all retired, and basically we drive a van that has a lift on it, and we will pick up individuals and take them into the center for therapy. It's a not-for-profit, wonderful organization. And the people that I work with have become like family to me. I know the spouses, I know the kids, I know the pets, I know the garage codes, and, we have wonderful conversation. Some are in walkers, some are in scooters, some are in wheelchairs. I've lost a few, which is difficult. And it's just been, it's part of giving back,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been a good ride. Love what I'm doing. And, and it's, they come in for therapy, but they treat the therapy knowing what the issue is, because most are Parkinson's, MS, and stroke victims. Okay. And their treatment is completely different than saying, hey, go get PT. And our the staff there, they love being there. Personalities are great.
Well,
they treat the people great.
This is a nonprofit?
Nonprofit.
Okay.
Yeah. So I do that. And then recently I joined the board at Barrington Giving Day. And it's another not-for-profit that supports families. These families are given to us through the school district. Okay, they vet them and saying, okay, here you go. These are the people that you be nice if you could work with them. And so we support them in multiple ways, where we have, at the end of the year, we have like a coat day. So they can come in and get winter coats for the kids, boots, scarves, hats. Most of what we're able to distribute is brand new goods. Okay. And then throughout the course of the year, they can come to our facility and shop for personal care items, for food. We have gas cards available. Merchandise is all out there, so they can pick and choose what they want. So it's a very, very good setting for them. And one of the special events is during prom. And during prom, the young men, young women can come in. We have prom dresses, tuxedos, shoes, purses.
Wow.
other accessories, as well as tailors there, seamstress, where they will get fitted and they have beautiful clothing to go to prom in.
Great causes.
Yeah.
So we're getting to the end here. 5 takeaways that we always ask our guests of wisdom that you want to impart, that you've learned, that you want to impart to others listening.
Yeah. Probably one of them is circumstances can change, whether this is in business or in your personal life. And don't let that affect your attitude or your goals. Okay, because it's very easy for me or any of us, right, to say like, well, this happened, so I can't do what I thought I was going to do, and I'm gonna take it down a notch. Yeah. So figure out a way, because there will be a way,
Mm-hmm.
right, that you can get to what you set out to do.
Okay.
So that's one of them. When you think you've made it, you're on top of the hill. You got promoted. You won President's Club. You're sales rep of the year. Whatever you've done, right? If you're not careful, complacency can set in, and as soon as that happens, you're going south. Okay.
Come right back down the hill.
Yeah. And so you have to be aware of that and do the activities to make sure that doesn't happen. And I've got the experience. I think we've all lived it at some point, and I certainly have. Yeah. So, it just have an awareness of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we talked earlier about getting let go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some would call it a riff, reduce in force, right? And it doesn't feel good when that happens, obviously, because there's so many things in that moment you may not be thinking straight. But usually these things are done because of a strategy from the business. I mean, they're really not picking on people, or it's other business needs that they have. And you could have mentors, you could have relationships, you could have all these people. But if you're in a larger company, they're usually not going to be able to help you. So you just got to take your medicine. But usually you're able to go out and find something really good, maybe better than what you had, maybe making more money than what you had. And I would coach people through this, even though I lived it, and I would coach them through this. Some of those times, even though it happened to me and I knew all this stuff, it still was hard. It still was hard. So
basically, for a negative, there's always going to be a positive.
yeah.
You got 2 more.
I got 2 more.
Yeah. Unless you just have your top 3 and that's it.
Yeah. Giving back, which I alluded to with what I'm doing now, I think we can do more of that earlier on. And I think more people should think about that. I wish I had given back more earlier on, but I'm chasing, right? You got the family, finances are X and X, and there wasn't the time for that. But if you're able to, I'd strongly suggest that you try to give back in any way you can. It doesn't have to be money. It could be your time.
Sure.
It could be a skill, and you could seek these things out. And when you do that, I think you'll find it feels good. It feels good to be able to help others. And one caveat I'd put in there, if you're able to do this, be invisible. Don't boast about it, right? Do it, enjoy it, help other people. And
Excellent.
then finally, because I know you wanted 5, you're a metrics guy, right? Just be kind, right? You look at what's going on in the world today, and we need more kindness. And it doesn't cost any money, right? I think it feels good. I know for me it does when I'm kind to somebody. We don't know what other people are dealing with. And I think all of us could sit back and say, boy, I would have never said that or done that if I've only known the morning they had or what happened at home. Nobody knew, right? So, and it like I said, it doesn't cost any money, and it feels good. So why not?
I'm in 100% agreement with all 5 things you said. So thank you.
Yeah.
This has been great.
I appreciate
I appreciate your time today.
Okay. Thank you.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Thanks for joining us on Hot Takes 50 Cups. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to visit our website at 50cupstea.com for more great content and delicious organic teas, and listen and watch us on all the leading platforms. Stay connected with us on Instagram at 50 Cups Tea, YouTube, and TikTok. And don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your friends. Until next time, keep sipping and stay united.